Hello and welcome to episode 39 of the Arena Regulars podcast. I'm Zach.
And I'm Jeff.
And we're your source for weekly Drunken Magic the Gathering arena content.
Yeah, basically we're regular dudes drinking irregular beer, talking about magic, and telling you how you can jumpstart your MTG Arena collection.
Yeah, exactly. And this week we are talking about some exciting news that we just found out about, and also the arena opening that is happening this weekend. But first, each week we both bring a beer, we drink our own, then drink each other's, then rate them on a scale of bronze to mythic, and choose the best for last. So with that, Jeff, what is on tap?
Okay, so this week I brought Beach Freak. It's a pale ale from Black Bellows. I've never tried anything from Black Bellows, I don't think, so this will be my first experience.
Yeah,
and
same.
a pale ale is always a nice way to test out a new brewery. But mostly I picked it because it has like a musclehead shark on a beach showing their guns, and as you pointed out, there's the much loved Bulette from the new
Yes.
the new set that's kind of like a shark.
It's a land shark? Yeah. So it's D&D related.
And this is a land shark, right?
Yeah,
So,
exactly. He's a shark that's on the beach, right? He's
That's right,
Yeah,
with
yeah,
legs.
Exactly. That's interesting. You brought something from Black Bellows because I also brought something from Black Bellows. Look at how that happened.
Tap takeover.
So this is their. It's just called White. It's their White. It's a wit
I like
beer.
the name.
Yeah, it's a wit beer with elderflower. It's 5%, and the can just has a picture of their brewery on it. It's kind of nice. So
I do like names that are just the style. Just
yeah,
like, mine was just called Pale.
pale. so easy. So, but yeah. Anyway, magic news. All right, here we go.
Was there any magic news recently, or
No, not that much, but like, let's just talk about the little things that happened. First of all, we finally know what the formats for Worlds is going to be. Worlds is in October.
That's important
something.
because that's our the Weird 2-4 comes down to that.
Exactly. And so, I was thinking, what's it going to be? Like, is it just going to be something boring? Or, I mean, we're going to be
Let me
past
guess,
rotation.
dead standard, right?
Yeah. Well, now it's at least past rotation, so it won't be completely dead standard. But,
Well, that's a change.
but actually, you know what they are doing. Day one starts with a draft.
What?
They're drafting for Worlds. Oh,
All right, now I'm excited.
So excited. Holy crap.
I thought they would just push back the release of Innistrad so that Worlds is a dead format.
Yeah. So we were pretty excited about that, and it seems like all the pros are as well. So it actually is. It's. I don't know if they did the draft thing so that people wouldn't bring like all land decks, but because this way you can't. It would be.
You could try.
It'd be really
draft
impressive
as
if
many
you could
lands
draft all lands.
Yeah.
But so that's really exciting. I'm super stoked for that. Also, Jeff, as always, what happened this week? The classic.
Well, I mean, about 38 seconds after we released our last episode, they announced something, which was that Brainstorm is suspended in Historic.
Weird.
And what's the difference between suspended and banned?
Well, suspended, you can't use the cards. You can't play with them. But you also don't get wild cards back.
Oh,
So-
that's fun.
So yeah, so you just don't. You don't get anything.
It lets WotC refund you in like 3 months when it has to move to the banned list or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, don't they always reevaluate in 3 months or something?
Yeah, so they're basically saying, oh, we don't think that Brainstorm is healthy for the format right now, but we don't feel like it's so strong that in the future it won't be a card that could be played. So they're gonna take some time, I guess. We have had a card come off of suspension before, so it is possible.
We've had one
that
come off suspension and then go right back on and then get banned. So, like,
So yeah, so we'll have to see for that. But in the meantime, just waiting for those wild cards. That'd be great. Please.
yeah, I mean, I was a bit like annoyed when I logged in. It's like, oh, Brainstorm, you can't play it anymore. I'm like, okay, give me my mythic rare wild cards, and then I just didn't get any. Wait a minute. Oh, suspended, right.
Yeah. So
That's their loophole.
pretty annoying, but
I don't know what their excuse was on the Book of Exalted Deeds that you didn't get wild cards for that either, but
because
you had,
yeah,
you're out 8 mythic wild cards if you played those 2 decks.
that's true because so the Book of Exalted Deeds, it's not going to be it's only banned in a fake format, basically, that will be the regular format in a couple months. So that's why they said you don't get any cards. Because you'll be able to use
literally
them.
nobody crafted it for regular standard. You know?
Yeah. So, anyway, that's been happening. Those things have been happening. But Jeff, the big whopper today that we got.
Big news.
Big hot news. We are getting Jumpstart Historic Horizons.
What is that?
This is a Jumpstart set that's coming only to Arena, instead of like also doing the packs and stuff in paper.
Mm-hmm.
But the big news about it is that there are going to be 31 digital-only cards. And when I say digital-only, I don't mean like Inspiring Commander or the whatever the other ones that they made up just for Arena.
Right.
I'm talking about cards that cannot be made in paper because it's physically impossible.
For the most part, I think one of
most
them I don't really understand how it couldn't be a paper card, but
That's true. Okay, there may be a couple that kind of feel like that, and it's easier to do it online. But this has been shaking up
somehow.
This has been shaking up the community quite a bit because this is something that people have talked about for a long time. And basically, when we say like can't physically be done, it's things like when this enters the battlefield, a card in your hand gets Death Touch forever.
Permanently.
Permanently.
It just like is on the card.
It is on
So
the
the reason you can't do that in paper is because it's like hard to track different copies of the same card.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So which copy of this card of the 4 in your deck is the one with Death Touch and which one is not?
Yeah.
So for example, you could do something in Arena that's like the top creature of your deck gets +1/+1.
Yeah.
And you can't realistically do that in paper because I could like play a different one and claim it was the one that has +1/+1 or whatever. And so basically they're brand new mechanics that are literally impossible to do anywhere other than Arena. So they won't have like a paper version that you can play.
Yeah, never. And some of them are like you could print it out and like have a list, and maybe you can. Some things are random, so you can just pull out slips from a hat or whatever. Maybe if your your commander table wants to do that, cool. Like try it. But for the most part, this is just for Arena, and that's this is new territory. This game has been out for decades, and this is the first time we're doing something like this. So it's a big deal. It's a pretty big deal.
Yeah, you can think of a lot of it as being like you're taking a Sharpie and you are changing the card. And then at the end of the game, you like erase all the Sharpies somehow.
Exactly.
And clean the slate.
So, first of all, Jeff, how do you feel about this?
So I was first like mostly just a bit confused at how the community kind of blew up. And then I remembered that it's the Magic Twitter community.
Oh, yes,
so.
of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They have strong opinions about literally everything. But the reason I'm saying I'm surprised is because, like, I don't know, was this a surprise to you? Like, when we talked about them doing that Mirror Mirror event, to us, that was a clear indication that they're considering this.
Yeah, well, so the Mirror Mirror event made it feel more like they would just nerf actual cards that they've made. This is... So my first initial reaction was, what? But then the more I thought about it, the more I didn't care all that much. And I was like, oh, they've always pushed the boundaries with whatever design space they have. And this is, these are going to be completely new things. Like, it's just more Magic cards and more design space to explore, which I think is really interesting.
Totally. I felt like this was always inevitable. As someone who's played a bunch of other digital-only games, I'm always like, these have something that Magic doesn't, because some of these mechanics are really cool.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
They just can do cool things that would be unrealistic to track in paper. And then Magic has been moving this way already with stuff like, I don't know if you've ever tried to play something like Mutate in paper, but it's so much worse than playing it on Arena, And so even though it exists in paper and you can do it, it's not really a paper mechanic. It's kind of a digital forward mechanic. And they've been printing more and more of that.
Almost everything from Ikoria was like that, right? Because we had the ability counters. We had Crystalline Giant, which just does random stuff. Which, how do you do that in paper easily?
Exactly. You roll a die or something.
So it already feels like that set was already like a big, hey, these are mechanics that were made for Arena only, basically, right? Like, everyone knows that.
Yeah.
So this is just this coming to fruition and really going headfirst into it. I like that. So the set has like 782 cards or something crazy like that, and 372 of them are going to be new to Arena cards. That doesn't mean that they're brand new to Magic. There's only 31 brand new to Magic cards, which are the digital ones. But the other ones are like, I think it's a bunch of Modern Horizons cards or Modern Horizons 2 as well. They're kind of just doing a huge injection. And the one other thing that's really great is that the other cards, whatever the difference between 782 and 372 is, all those cards that we already had, they're not giving you a new Jumpstart version. They're going to give you the one you already have on Arena, which is great.
Thank
I don't
God.
need a fifth.
No more 8 Woe Striders.
Exactly. I don't need like a fifth copy of whatever random common. It'll just be like Vault Progress. You're like, sick. Okay,
Yeah,
I don't have to deal with
the way it should have been the first time.
Yeah. So that is really exciting. So I'm happy. I am happy with this. Where we stand right now.
Totally.
But
and actually, for me, the printing Modern Horizons cards into Historic is the more surprising part of this announcement because those cards are absurd.
yeah, I mean, I know that they're curating certain. Like, we're not going to get Ragavan or anything like that. I think they even mentioned in an article being like, "Hey, is that going to happen?" And like, no.
Good bet that it's not.
Yeah, so, but it is nice to just be like, yeah, let's spread these around. Historic's just going to be our melting pot of stuff. We're going to put some things in it. And I think there is, I saw something online that was talking about maybe this is a possibility for designers to be able to test the limits of certain cards and be able to nerf them easily. And we can talk a little bit about that when we talk about some of the cards that have been spoiled. But the idea of, we made this card in the digital version, and if it's too powerful, we can nerf some of the stuff that it does because it's only on digital. And then maybe later we make a paper version that's, changes some of those abilities. But it's a way that they can test the limits without completely breaking something or having to ban a bunch of stuff or any of that. So I guess Historic can just be like a testing grounds.
Yeah, and I'm totally fine with that, and that sounds super fun.
Yeah.
So, this is, if they're going to do these kind of digital-only mechanics, which, again, I think was kind of inevitable because, they do have competition, and a lot of people do come from Hearthstone, or they come from, Legends of Runeterra, and try out Magic Arena. And if they don't, they'll be like, oh, why are these mechanics, not doing some of the crazy stuff that happens in Hearthstone or that happens in Legends of Runeterra, and so it won't be familiar to them, and they'll go right back. So these mechanics are designed for people that's the way they interact with games. They've never played paper Magic.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm happy to see them. Let's kind of get into some of the mechanics really quickly. We have 3 new ones that are going to be digital only, and the first one is Seek. So it's literally a card will say, seek your deck for a creature with mana value 2 or less or something. And that literally just means you will randomly be tutored up a card that's in your deck already that, it'll seek it to your hand or something. And it'll find something that is those parameters, just puts it in your hand, and it doesn't shuffle your deck. It just goes and gets a random one, puts it in your hand. So yeah, obviously that's something you can't do in paper because you can't search your library without shuffling it because then you just see all the cards on the top.
Right, yeah, exactly. This reminds me a bit of Cascade, but it goes into your hand instead of being immediately cast.
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure if it's only that or sometimes it goes to the battlefield. It might give directions where it's supposed to go.
Okay, yeah.
So I don't know if it's seek this to the battlefield or seek this to your hand or something.
So the card I'm looking at just says seek a non-land card with mana value 2 or less.
Perfect. So I'm fairly positive it just goes straight into your hand.
Yeah.
We got this announcement literally today, so trying to get as much stuff as we possibly can from the limited amount of things that have come out so far. Because spoilers are started literally today and then going until August 4th, and then we're going to have all the entire gallery is going to be open to us. But yeah, so anyway, it seems fine. It's okay, that seems kind of cool. I'm not super blown away, but it's that makes sense. It seems almost like a baby step.
For the most part, not shuffling is mostly going to be irrelevant compared to Cascade, which just puts it at random on the bottom of your deck. you get a bit more information out of Cascade,
Mm-hmm.
right? And you get no information out of this. But mostly, like, whether you whether it was a random thing and then you shuffle your deck afterwards or not, will rarely actually matter that much. I mean, it doesn't mess up your scries. And
Yeah,
stuff.
I wonder if this was part of like we can tutor something out without shuffling so that it doesn't help with brainstorm, and then they just like
Right.
suspended brainstorm, so
Yeah.
it doesn't really matter all that much. But yeah, I mean, I feel pretty fine about this. It's not super groundbreaker or anything.
This is less impactful than the next one.
Exactly. So what's the next one?
The next one is called Perpetually. And I just want to say, to me right now, both Seek and Perpetually sound like pretty clunky names in the way they get used. I don't love them.
Yeah.
I know it's one of those things you'll just get used to, and I won't even think about it in, 2 weeks. But first seeing this, it's like so let's take Davriel's Withering, for example. It's 1 black, and it says target creature perpetually gets -1/-2. And so that just sounds a bit clunky to me.
I wish that they flipped it the other way, where it says target creature gets -1/-2 perpetually.
Yeah, that sounds like it makes more sense
Right?
to me. But
Instead of perpetually gets anyway.
yeah,
But basically that just means like, yeah, that card now will forever have -1/-2. If it dies
Yeah.
and goes to the graveyard, it still has -1/-2. If you try to bring it back from your graveyard, it will die immediately because if it has 0 toughness, which, yeah, anywhere it goes, it would just be like that forever.
yeah, and it interacts with everything, right? So it's like if you had a card that reanimates something with 3 or less power, and it originally had 4, well, now it has 3 or less, and you can actually target it and stuff like that. So,
Yeah,
this is a big difference to the game. Stuff that does this. 'Cause
Absolutely.
nothing like this really existed. Because when you first look at Davriel's Withering, you might say, oh, well, how is this different than like an aura that gets -1/-2? Other than, it's an instant instead of an enchantment. That's not a big deal. It's like, well, the aura will go away when it dies, and if you bring it back to your hand, somehow it won't still be there, whereas this will.
exactly. Or like flickering it won't do that either. It's just attached to the card. It's not a counter that can fall off or you can manipulate. It's just there.
Yeah. And the crazy thing to me is that even if it gets exiled, that doesn't reset it. Which I thought maybe the exile zone would be enough to, like,
Nope,
get
nothing.
rid of this, but no. So it really is perpetually.
Yep.
The word does do a good job of describing it.
It literally does that. And then the third mechanic they're making or that we have is Conjure, which is basically you get so Seek gets a card from your deck. Conjure basically gets a card that's outside of your library and the sideboard and just anywhere, and it just like gives you a copy of it. So the example that we have is Tome of the Infinite, which is 2 and a blue for a legendary artifact. You can pay blue and tap it to conjure a random card from Tome of the Infinite's spellbook into your hand. And it perpetually gains. You can spend mana as though it were mana of any color to cast it. And basically there is a list of cards that are like the Tome spellbook. And it's cards like Swords of Plowshares and Ponder and Duress and Lightning Bolt, things like that. And you just get a random one into your hand. Now, those cards most of those cards you can't actually, have or like play them normally. Like one of them, I think they have like some of the dual lands, like the OG duels are like, yeah, you get one of those randomly into your hands.
They showed Tropical Island.
So it's not, they're not legal in Historic, but from this card you can get a version, which does remind me of Garth One Eye from the Modern Horizons 2, who makes like token versions of famous cards. This is like a way of doing that, but you can have more than just the ones that Garth had. So
Totally.
once again,
similar to that, but they're not treated like tokens. They're
exactly,
actually
they're
spells.
They're real cards. They count as just a card.
Yeah, I mean, when I was just like scrolling through, they have the conjure and then the cards up next. And I was like, what the hell? They're printing Tropical Island into Historic?
Yeah.
And then I read the mechanic. I was like, oh, okay. It's like wondering what the fuck was going on there. But
It's so weird. So this one is also just like cool. I think all of these, to me, I think Perpetually is the one that will be used the most because it's like more concrete. Like what it does. The other ones are super random. And so those just seem kind of fun, but I don't know if they're going to see as much play, really.
Yeah, now it should be noted that Conjure doesn't have to be random. You could have a card that's just like Conjure a Stormfront Pegasus.
Oh, that's true.
And it's like there's no reason it has to be. But all of these mechanics are kind of a bit tame in the sense of really exploring what you can do with digital-only mechanics. In the sense that every card game that's digital-only has these mechanics in it. It has whatever they call it, but they all have this. Because they're just kind of the basic things you can do with this. And so I like that they're kind of dipping their toe in. They're getting us used to the idea before barraging us with some truly crazy mechanics, which they could do.
These are also some of those things like what's the angel from Zendikar Rising that fetches a copy of herself when you play it from your sideboard?
Yeah.
Was it Legion Angel or something?
Legion Angel, yeah.
Yeah. But it's the same thing. It's like, when you play this, you get another copy into your hand. You just have there's only a certain amount that you can have. This makes it better because you can have as many as you want in your deck, and then you play it and you get a lot of them.
It doesn't take up sideboard spots.
Exactly. So, I mean, they all seem pretty fun. Like, I am excited to play with these, and but like you were saying, they do seem fairly tame as far as like, oh yeah, that's an ability that you could have, but now it's just longer or forever or something. So I do like what they did, and they were very careful about what they did and how they show this to the Magic community, because people, it's Magic is so close to our hearts. You can get really emotional about it and get really frustrated. So I think they're doing a good job slowly getting us used to this.
I think most of the people hating on it either won't play it and it won't affect them at all, or they're gonna love it in like a month, or 2 months.
Do you think this is going to be a big divide between the paper community and the online community? That seems to be a big point, is that, hey, now there's just another reason why Arena is so different than paper, and we're just going to make the huge distinct groups of Magic players is the paper Magic players and the digital only Magic players. Do you think that that's going to force a wedge between these people, or is it just going to feel like, oh, Historic's just another format that's kind of, there are cards that are really good in Modern but not good in other stuff. I mean, same thing with Historic.
Like I was saying, Historic already did that a little bit.
Yeah.
Like, people who play, like, you can't really play Historic in paper because it's just too hard to know if your opponent has legal cards in their deck.
Yeah.
And so I don't really see it. I see it as more the divide between different formats. Right? Like, somebody who plays in a standard tournament can log into Arena and test on the ladder with the standard deck that they're going to play.
Yeah.
That's still a thing you can do. And so there's going to be a Historic community, but that already exists. The people who play Historic and can't really communicate about Historic with people who only play in paper. I don't know how much this will widen that gap, really. I mean, it's going to widen the gap between Historic and other formats, but that's what formats already do anyways. They tend to diverge from each other. That's why. Yeah. If they started to converge towards each other, it wouldn't be interesting.
They wouldn't be different formats, really, right?
Yeah, the whole point of having different formats is that they tend to get more and more different.
Yeah, exactly. And it's the same thing like talking to... when the new set comes out, there are always cards that are good for different places. And even talking to Commander friends, then they're so excited about Old Gnawbone, right? But we were just talking about how, that card's not really going to see standard or much play probably at all. Maybe past rotation, but like it's not part of the list of cards that people are super stoked about. And that's one of the big Commander cards that is like, it's pretty expensive right now in paper, and people are like stoked about it. And yeah, that's great. They always make cards for a lot of different people. These are going to be 31 cards that are made for a format that's only digital. I understand why they're leaning into the digital thing.
I kind of feel like even Commander players, who obviously would know more about the format than I do, but it still kind of feels like they're overrating Old Gnawbone.
Well, maybe that's
almost
good.
Any removal spell in the world gets rid of it, and you have to actually connect with creatures for it to do anything, which isn't exactly a Commander thing. But
well, I guess I don't.
It does pay you off, I guess. It does.
You do it. I don't want to speak too much about Old Gnawbone because I don't know a ton about it, but
It just seems like it can't possibly be that good.
Well,
to me.
Okay, well, I think whatever, it doesn't matter. I don't know.
Any card that ramps you after you play a 7-drop and connect with a creature is like, how can this possibly be oppressive? It can't be that good.
Anyway, let's talk about the new main spoiler that we got from this whole thing, this article. Jeff, would you like to read our new Planeswalker?
Oh, Jesus.
Do you want me to read it? I can read it.
No, I'll do my best
Okay.
here. This is a long card. Okay. How about I'll read the card and you tell me what the second ability does.
Oh God, okay, fine.
All right, so we have Davriel's Soul Broker. It's 2 black for a legendary planeswalker, Davriel, who you might remember from War of the Spark. He's a mythic rare with 4 loyalty. +1, till your next turn, whenever an opponent attacks you and or planeswalkers you control, they discard a card. If they can't, they sacrifice an attacking creature. -2, accept one of Davriel's offers, then accept one of Davriel's conditions. And -3, target creature perpetually gets -3/-3.
Oh, all right. So, yeah, that second one, kind of a weird one, right? I don't know exactly.
Pretty self-explanatory, I think.
No.
Accept one of his offers, then accept one of his conditions.
Yeah. So this is kind of the thing I was talking about earlier, where they can change up whatever they want with this card, right? So printed on the card, it's not printed on the card anymore.
Yeah.
What is typed on the card or on the image is basically just said, Davriel has offers and conditions. Now the offers range from you could draw 3 cards to you get a random, you get like a Manor Guard, which is just like a whatever creature.
So that's an example of a non-random conjure.
Yes,
that specific ability.
It's a conjure specific card, and they range from also just like making like some of your cards cost less, or giving Davriel new abilities. And so there are 8 different things that Davriel can offer you, and you will get a random selection of 3. So when you plus or you -2, is it -2?
-2, yeah.
So when you -2, you'll get 3 random offers. And then after you pick your offer, you also get 3 random conditions, which are also all bad things. So you have to sacrifice 2 permanents, or each creature you don't control perpetually gains +1/+1, or you lose 6 life, things like that. You'll also get 3 random ones of those. And so once we start playing with this card, it will be kind of random because you start to see you get different things, but obviously some of the offers are going to be better than other ones, and some of the conditions are not going to be as bad as other ones or whatever.
Sometimes you'll need exactly one of the offers to win the game, and it won't give it to you.
And that kind of stuff. But this is the situation where if one of the offers becomes too good, or it's there are problems with it, they can just change what the offers are, and it won't even rewrite the card. You're just like, it just doesn't do that anymore, and you just will never see that offer again.
And because nobody invested money into it in paper, it's not quite as bad. It feels bad, and like part of the problem with changing cards is the paper version doesn't change, obviously.
Exactly. Which is what we saw with companions and everything like that, where there's a big errata. But if you're a kid who gets a pack or something, or people who don't know or aren't part of it, or you open it years later and companions aren't really a thing that people use anymore, you won't know and you'll just play it wrong. In this, they just change it up, and then whatever. All right, maybe Davriel's not as great anymore, and then you move on. So
nerfs still do kind of suck, because a lot of the time nerfs render the card unplayable, and then you don't get any wild cards back.
Yeah, so that is continued Wizards not giving us wild cards for things we can't use anymore.
Yeah.
But I think overall, I like the idea of putting on a card, it goes and gets a thing, and then you can change whatever those things are. I like that idea. Specifically with this card.
Yeah, sure.
The other ones, the other mechanics might not be able to do that stuff, but this one specifically is nice. So
this card is obviously, impossible to figure out if it's good or not right now. But it does look pretty strong to me. So
it does seem pretty strong. And it could be a fun thing if you play this in your casual games or Commander and paper, and you bring 2 bags with little pieces of paper, and you stick your hand in and you grab one, or 2 or 3, and you pick. You minusing your planeswalker will probably take about 10 or 15 minutes for all your friends to watch you do that, but you could possibly do it. So
I mean, you better have your Davriel hat already ready.
Yeah. You're like, wait, guys, I have to cut up some pieces of paper, and I got to look
get my
up
conditions hat and my and my offers hat.
Oh man.
I mean, I guess you could just roll a D8, right?
I guess so, but like you have to do that 3 times and then look at anyway.
You have like 2 pieces of paper that are the legend, or whatever. You just tell your friend, "Oh, 3 is this one, and I'm gonna do that."
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're like, "Oh, so you always get draw 3? I see. I see how it is." But yeah. Anyway, so we're gonna talk a lot more about this when we get more of the cards. At the moment, we have a very small portion of them. And we're also, once again, getting a bunch of other cards that we haven't had in Historic yet. So, once again, Historic's going to get fucking crazy.
I'm super excited for that because, like I said, Modern Horizons was full of outrageous cards. And when it was spoiled, I was talking to you and I was even like, I just look at these cards because they're cool, but I'm literally never going to play with them.
Exactly.
Turns out I was fucking wrong.
Yeah.
Because they're coming to Historic.
Yeah, look at that. So... I will be excited to see that. And, I mean, I've played the other Jumpstart ones. I think it's kind of fun to get the 2 random packs. And they're actually, they are improving on that for this release. They're also making it so you will more often see decks or packs that you haven't seen before as choices. Right. And making sure that, the duplicate protection is stronger. So I'm happy with that.
Yeah, that's a really good point, actually, because if they aren't printing it in paper, like Jumpstart was limited by how you could randomize them in paper, which there's only so much you can do. But by making it online only, the actual experience of Jumpstart for the people who liked that is going to get a lot better because they can use these online these digital-only strategies of randomization that are custom to you.
They literally have, like, some of the dual lands that you'll get will fit specifically with your colors and different things like that. Or it seems pretty interesting. I am happy to see this coming. It was kind of a surprise, but I've come full circle. I feel like I started in a upset place and I came to I'm excited for this. So.
It only took you 1 day, so that's good.
I'm getting better at it. I really am. Yeah. It's a hard thing to do, but I'm getting better. But I did want to point out once again, it is Monday. D&D just came out officially Friday in paper. It's officially out in paper. And now we have some spoilers for a new set.
And this actually got leaked on like Saturday or something.
Yeah, so basically it was literally...
We didn't know the specific cards, but we knew this
coming.
This announcement was coming, yeah.
So just want to remind everyone, hey, more spoilers forever. Yay.
There's just always Magic spoilers at all times.
Oh, yeah. Spoiler season is just always in season, so... But I'm liking it more than I have in the past, so I'm all here for this one.
Yeah, this one's just wild. So every day I'm like, what? They're putting that card in Historic? That's gonna be me every day.
Yeah, every day. Like, are you serious? Yeah. So I'm excited for that. But Jeff, before we move on, do you have any last thoughts?
I do.
All right.
My only thought about this that was about Historic itself. And the only thing I'm not sure of with this product is I no longer know whether Historic is supposed to be casual or competitive or even what it's supposed to be at all. Because remember, originally it was use your standard cards that have now rotated out. But that is just not what Historic is anymore because the standard cards barely make the cut now because the cards that they're slamming into this format are so good. So that vision is out the window for using your favorite old standard decks.
Yeah.
So I don't actually know what this format's about, but this looks to me like they're trying to aim it towards, slightly more casual and just have it be wild and fun, and I'm all about that.
Exactly. Especially because now we're on mobile, so it will feel a lot more like you're playing Hearthstone or Legends of Runeterra as far as like, I can play Magic, I can play my standard deck, but then whenever I feel like doing something goofy, instead of going to one of those other games, I'm just going to play Historic. So
yeah, I think this is a smart way to target the digital-only crowd, give them a product that, they identify with, and maybe even, hey, they'll try standard and start to get used to, and maybe even
drafting
move towards paper.
Yeah, hey, who knows? Like, Yeah, so I'm here for it. I also agree. I don't know what's going on after this year of historic is this competitive format that we're using at championships and things. If that's gonna be it anymore, I
And
don't
the
know.
brainstorm ban to me was like suggests it's competitive because we talked about this before, but like brainstorm is only a problem in the hands of really, really good players.
Exactly.
Because it's such a high skill cap card. And their data showed that it wasn't really a problem on the ladder.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, oh, well, are you suspending this just for the championship that's coming up or something? Like,
Yeah, or
what is the deal?
I don't know, but yeah.
I think maybe they suspended it just so these cards don't get overpowered by it, and so people will be playing these new cards as soon as they drop instead of everyone just playing their brainstorm deck.
That does make sense. Yeah. Hey, let's play the new cards. That makes sense. That makes
and that explains the suspension instead of a ban.
Exactly.
Too, right? Like, let's let you try these new cards, learn to love these, and then we'll bring brainstorm back.
And then we can make it more competitive again or whatever. Yeah, that makes sense. It also makes sense that a while back they had mentioned that they're stopping working on Pioneer Masters. That was a thing that was supposed to be in the works over the last year or two, and they just are stopping that. And it really feels like they're putting all their work into making historic whatever they want to make it. I don't even know, but yeah, I'm happy with that. Instead of this conversation of, oh, are we going to have in-person historic tournaments, or is historic supposed to be the new
This
Pioneer?
definitely answers that question.
It 100% does. We are not playing historic in paper. It's going to be digital only, and once we make that decision, boom, digital only cards. Here for it.
Love it.
All right. Well, I am ready for another beer, so let's go to a beer break.
Let's do it.
Mm-hmm. Beach freak. I'm a boulette beach freak.
When you mentioned that card, I forgot that was even a card because I just never take it.
I think I took it once and it was not the best.
It's not good.
No.
Even if you have all the synergies, it's still like, nah.
It's like, okay.
Maybe if it had trample.
Oh, if it had trample, for sure. But it just gets blocked. Obviously.
Yeah.
If that's the problem. All right, so now we are going into how to spike the Arena Open, or
That's right. How to cash it.
Yeah, how to cash the Arena Open. Make $2,000. Flashing lights, flashing lights.
Yeah, and we'll only take, what, a 10% cut I think we agreed on?
Yeah, I think 10.
Cash?
Yeah, 10 each. So.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, obviously.
Yeah, just send it to our PayPal that we have.
That's right.
For sure.
Just DM us on Twitter. We'll get you that.
We'll figure it out. Just send us all of it, and we'll send you whatever you deserve back.
We'll do the calculation for you, exactly.
Yeah.
It's like you don't even have to figure out what 10% of 2,000 is.
Yeah.
We'll do that
We'll
part
do
for
that. Anyway, we have an Arena Open again this coming weekend, and it's going to be current standard. So we're going to talk all about current standard for this next bit. Yay!
Yeah. Have you been playing it?
I have, actually. I got a chance to play quite a bit today and a bit last week as well. So.
Nice. Yeah, I played it the past week, and then this past weekend, Star City Games came back, SCG Tour Online, and it was all standard, so I had to play in some of that. So, I don't know, let's talk about the Arena Open first, then I can tell you how my tournament went. And
Ooh,
then we'll
absolutely.
get into the actual nitty-gritty here. What you all came to hear, which deck should you play?
Yeah, exactly. So the Arena Open, if you haven't been to one or done one, they're open
or listen to our episodes about it.
Yes, exactly. They are basically, it's like a tournament, but it's all on Arena, and you could win $2,000. So day one is on Saturday. This is July 31st, and then day two is on August 1st, obviously. And it costs about, let's see, let me get the thing up.
It's 20,000 gold or 4,000 gems.
Yeah, and you can do either best of one or best of three to qualify for day two.
So if you do best of one, then you have to get 7 wins before you get 3 losses to qualify for day two. If you decide to go best of 3, you have to win 4 matches before losing a single one to qualify for day two.
However, if you are doing best of 3, all you have to get is 3 wins to get your gems back, and then you can keep going. If you do best of 1, even if you get 7 wins, you get half of your gems back.
Yeah, so this is the same setup they've had for a while. The difference is the price is slightly lower to account for the fact that it's not limited this time. The past 2 have been limited, and this is back to what it was before they made limited. It's the same price, the same payouts, and the same structure. And so, like, we've both played in a few of these, right? And I really like these tournaments. I think they tend to be quite fun.
Yeah, I think they're great. Also, you get a sleeve every time you enter in one of these, and the one for this one is freaking awesome. It's this dwarf fighting this Hydra, and it just looks so cool.
Yeah, when they said Lair of the Hydra sleeve, I was worried it was just like the art for Lair of the Hydra, which not that there's anything wrong with it, but I find it cooler when the sleeves aren't just card art.
Yeah, it's something else that we haven't seen.
So I don't know if this is some sort of alternate art for Lair of the Hydra or why they're calling it that, but it's some dwarf going ham. He has no fear. He's just fighting this, there's 5 heads attacking him and he's ready.
He's stomping on one of them. It's great.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then if you make it to day 2, it's going to be all best of 3, and you need to get 7 wins or before you get 2 losses to make the $2,000. If you get 6 wins, you get 1,000. So that's also pretty good. And then tons of gems and things. So
yeah, and any less than that, you get a bunch of gems. So 5 wins is like 20,000 gems. So
it's like $100.
You'll be up 5 times the price of entry or
exactly. And these are the kind of events where you can enter in as many times as you want. So you kind of have multiple bullets, quote unquote. And we always say, always make sure that you have a cap for how many gems you're going to spend doing this, because it can get you into the gambler mindset where you want to keep going. Like, oh, if I only had a little bit more gems, I'd do a little bit better, and you just get into the rabbit hole, and then you look at your credit card statement the next day, and you're like, oh my gosh, that was a lot.
Exactly, yeah.
So just make sure you know how many times you're going to enter. Just look at your account and see, is it worth it to spend this many gems to have this much fun for this day? All that stuff. So just be smart about it.
Yeah, thinking about it as gambling is right because it is. Like, sure, your skill level affects the outcome more than most casino games, other than poker, I guess. But, like, it is still random, so you are still essentially gambling. And so, all the rules that apply to, not making sure you don't go crazy with gambling apply here, right? It's the old set your limit, stay within it mentality. If you set aside 8,000 gems, say I'm going to try twice, make sure you only try twice.
Exactly. Unless you're doing so well, I guess, in best of 3, you're getting your gems back already, then... That's
true. So best of 3, it's kind of possible to go, multiple times to get your entry back. So I don't consider that as, like... I'm prepared to lose 8,000 gems. So
exactly.
if I get all 4,000 back, I'll just jump in again, kind of thing.
Exactly.
Yeah, and the other thing to remember is that, like, even for the pros, the best players in the world, it usually takes them multiple attempts to get into day 2. Sometimes they spike it and do it on the first try, but if you, are searching Twitter, even the best players in the world say, oh, I took 5 tries to get to day 2. So, don't be discouraged if you didn't do that well or, whatever. It happens to everyone.
It definitely happens to everyone, and it can be one of those things where, you're playing best of 3 and you just get matched up against that match it's such a bad matchup that there's just no way you're going to win.
Totally.
That can be rough.
Unless you follow our advice and don't pick a deck that has such matchups.
Yeah, there you go.
But that is the question, right? Should you play best of 1 or should you play best of 3? And we usually answer this more or less the same way. So it actually breaks down fairly simply. If all you care about is making day 2, you should play best of 1. The reason is that it's so much more forgiving. You only have to lose, you get 3 losses, where if you lose a single match in best of 3, which can often come down to getting, having to mulligan in a single game, which is just going to happen. You can get up to 3 losses in best of 1 before being eliminated, so you get kind of 2 chances to get really unlucky, and then you still have your chance to win. The other reason is that best of 3 favors better players. So this is kind of a concept we've talked about before, but let's say I'm 60% to win a single game of Magic. That means I'm more than 60% likely to win a best of 3, because instead of my opponent having a 40% chance to beat me, they have to hit 2 40%ers on 3 tries. And so their odds go down and mine go up. Now what this means is that if you're a good player, generally best of 3 favors you. But in an event like this, that means the best of 3 queues are full of better players than the best of 1 queues, because the best of 3 players understand this and know that, have decided that best of 3 favors them. And so even if you think it favors you, you're still probably better off going best of 1, you know, unless you're like Gabe Nassif or something. You know, you're not worried about the skill level of the other players in the event, because you know you're still on top. But if you want to kind of keep winning gems back, like Zach was mentioning, it's 4,000 gems to enter. But if you get 3 wins in best of 3, and you don't make it, you don't get the full 4 wins, but you get 3 wins, you get 5,000. So you actually made 1,000 gems, even though you didn't qualify. And if you get only 2 wins, you get 2,500. So you get like a good chunk of your entry fee back. And the same is not true in best of 1. If you flunk out of best of 1, even at 6 wins, so almost there, you get only 1,600 back. So
it's rough.
If you're trying to just kind of keep playing and cut your losses a bit, maybe, then you can play best of 3. And if you just find best of 3 more fun, like I think we both do, that's another factor. But if all you care about is day 2ing it, you should play best of 1.
Exactly. So if you're just trying to day 2 and then get all the $2,000, which is what you really want, you'll be playing best of 3 on day 2 anyway. So
that's true. That's another good point. Yeah.
Yeah. Either way, in my mind, it does feel like it would be difficult to play best of 1 and then switch to best of 3 for the big day, just because the formats are drastically different and the deck choices are.
I think there is one deck choice that's a really good option for both.
For either one, I think I know which one you're talking about, but anyway, Jeff, do you want to quickly talk about the tournament you had this weekend and your new knowledge of Standard?
That's right. So so I've been playing Standard all week, but mostly I've been trying to explore new decks that are not the ones we all know about. You know, like I didn't craft Sultai and go play that. I didn't play any Gruul Adventures, even though we both know that, you know, probably Gruul Adventures is one of the best decks in the format. And we'll talk about that a bit later. But I decided to play some other stuff. And then I decided to hop into the SCG on Friday. So they had a satellite at 1 p.m., which I felt like I could maybe squeeze in there. And I decided to play Rakdos. Rakdos Sacrifice. So I played this a while ago in an SCG, or it was either an SCG or an Insight, and I went like 5-2 in the big tournament, and I ended up missing out on top 8 on Breakers. But I really liked the deck, and this was the kind of tokens version. So you play like Eye Twitch and Serrated Scorpion, Awaken the Blood Avatar. And it's that kind of deck, and you play Forbidden Friendship or whatever that makes 2 1/1s. And you know that I love the new card Zariel from the new expansion. And I was just like, whoa, that card fits perfectly into this archetype, because it gives you a way to win if you, like, it gives you another way to go over the top when you have a bunch of dorky 1/1s. You give them all +1/+0 in haste. And so I jumped into this satellite. Now I knew I wasn't going to be able to play on Sunday because we already had plans. And these are to qualify for Sunday. But if you do well enough, you also qualify for the MTG Arena League weekend. No, the MTG Arena weekend qualifier.
Weekend qualifier. I was like, League weekend?
Yeah, exactly. I know. You just got to go like 3-3. Long story short, I played against Dimir Rogues, 3 copies of Sultai Ultimatum, and then Naya Adventures. And Rakdos, generally I would say it's like not that good against the blue decks. You play it to beat up on the creature decks. So anyways, I lost to Naya Adventures and kicked the crap out of the other 4. So I ended up 4-2 in the event. Just like, I guess, farming Sultai Ultimatum the whole time, because the new Zariels really put them under so much pressure that because you're attacking them for like 10 on turn 4.
Yeah. That
an Extinction event only gets rid of half your board, because usually 2 of them are 1-drops and 2 of them are tokens. And then, So it didn't go exact at all as I planned. I lost to the creature deck and beat the blue decks, but hey, I'll take it.
Yeah, that's so interesting. Wow.
And so that was basically my story. I did play on Sunday in the main event just to have some fun before I had to go. I knew I would have to drop. And I played against random Abzan Pile featuring multiple copies of main deck Yasharn, featuring 4 copies of Skyclave Apparition, 3 Elspeth Conquers Death, and 4 Binding the Old Gods. Now, if you know anything about the Rakdos deck, it relies on sacrifice effects and the enchantment that whenever a creature dies, you drain them for 1. And most decks don't have a ton of ways to kill that. This deck had like infinite ways to get rid of that. And main deck Yasharns, which I have literally 1 answer for, I think, in my sideboard. Because normally I would steal it and sack it, but I can't do that.
You can't do that.
So I got torn apart by this deck. Like, I don't know where this deck came from. There were like 8 people in the event playing it out of 185. Got rolled by it.
Oh, so this wasn't just like a one-off, just random brew that somebody had. This was like
I think
deck.
it did randomly well in one of the satellites, so some people just copied the list.
Yeah. And
round 2, I queue up, and it's Abzan Yorion, and it's the same exact deck list. The guy destroys me again. Like a different player with the same outcome, basically.
Oh, God.
And I was laughing with the guy in chat, like, after playing this matchup twice in a row, I can conclude that it is not good for me.
Yeah.
And they just said, like, you played it twice in a row? That is so unlucky. How many people are even playing this deck? Like, it's like, 3% of people.
Classic.
But I wasn't even upset because I knew I would, like, it would have been disappointing if I'd qualified for this event and then that happened and you're like, well, nothing I could do. But because I knew that I would have to drop out anyways, it was like, yeah.
Well, nice.
Exactly. But anyways, if you are predicting a lot of Abzan Yorion, don't bring Rakdos sacrifice tokens. That's my main advice. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, all right. So we have put together a couple of tier lists that are fairly similar, but there are some differences in there. And so we're going to start with best of 3. That's what we usually play, so it's a bit easier for us to talk about that. But then we're also going to dive into some best of 1 afterwards and just say which decks we think are the ones that you should play or that at least will be played a lot. So just keep those things in mind when we're going into this next weekend. But yeah, I guess, Jeff, do you want to just like go down your list and I'll talk about how mine's different?
Yeah, let's just go sort of one deck at a time here,
Sure.
and then you'll indicate whether you agree with me that it's tier 1 or not tier 1 or whatever. And then, so we'll start with tier 1.
Yeah.
So by tier 1, we mean either the best decks or the decks that are going to be the most played. So you should expect these to be most popular. I'm going to start with Gruul Adventures. So this deck's been around for a long time. It recently kind of got a facelift where instead of the old, package that had a lot of great henges and stuff like that, this deck is much more explosive. It now plays Magda and Jaspera Sentinel to power out things really quickly. Tends to play the Cadillac, which is
Asika's Chariot.
Asika's Chariot, yeah, but it also combos with Magda and Goldspan Dragon, and then it tops out at Embercleave. So it kills very, very fast. To me, this is the best aggro deck in the format. So if you want to play some aggro, you want some explosive turns, this would be my choice.
Yeah, I also like Gruul Adventures. I also have it at tier 1. But yeah, it's just like, hey, you want to play some Embercleave? Do you want to just attack with everything and smack people out of the sky? Boom, there you go. It's been doing work for a long time, and I think this version is quite nice. So yeah, go for it.
Yeah, totally. And it should be noted, like, of the SCG, the big 200-person tournament that I was talking about, this was the best performing deck at a 65% win rate.
Oh.
So it was just absolutely smashing everyone in that tournament. And according to MTG data, it has like a 61.5% win rate over the past week across all the events that they consider. So this deck is just very good. It's been really good for a really long time. The only thing I'll say is if you're kind of picking this up out of the blue, before jumping into the open, I'd play some games with it because there's some kind of weird stuff where you can copy treasure tokens with the Cadillac to make sure you get up to 5 for Magda, and before going to blocks, like bring in the Embercleave or whatever. So there's a lot of like kind of strange sequencing stuff where you want to be tapping specific things with your Cadillac. You can often generate more treasures than you think you can, is what I'd say. Yeah. You can often kill people by generating, like, you go from 1 to 5 treasures immediately and then bring out the Embercleave and they're dead.
So what's this next deck that we were talking about?
Next one is Teamer Adventures, but I'm thinking specifically the version with Luca, Coppercoat Outcast. So this is everyone knows this card by now, I guess, but it exiles something or destroys something, I forget, and then brings out a creature from your deck that has a higher mana value. And so the idea of this deck is that all of the adventure creatures are mana value 3. And so you just don't play any creature that has a higher mana value other than Coma. And so now if you activate Luca on an adventure creature, you always get Coma. And so the idea is that it's just the adventure package, Brazen Borrower, Bone Crusher Giant, and Lovestruck Beast, which are, tried and true, with the Edgewall Innkeeper, so that classic mid-range adventure package. And then you just slam in some Lucas to just cheat out a Coma if your opponent's ever, they have to deal with your Bone Crusher Giants, and then you just get a Coma into play. This is, I think, the mid-range deck of choice. If you like kind of mid-rangey gameplay, this doesn't kill anywhere near as fast as Gruul Adventures, but it tries to kind of control the pace of the game with these busted adventure creatures and then do something over the top.
Nice. Yeah, I actually had this lower, but I was thinking of more of the version that's literally just tokens. So... which is not my favorite, but what you're saying with the adventure creature package, that is significantly better. So normally when I think of Teamer Luca, you just don't play any creatures except for Coma, and then you just have a bunch of dinky tokens. So either getting Coma or you're getting the Archon, that turns all of them, makes all of them bigger. And that deck's, I don't love it. It's okay.
It's not good. I love it, but it's not good. Yeah.
So that's why I put Teamer Luca in tier 2, but I think it definitely kind of pokes up into tier 1 if we're just doing the adventures, and I like that. It's just like generally good stuff with this sweet plan of slamming a Coma way early. So
I didn't get the deck at first for a similar reason to what you're saying, is that you usually just include no creatures. Until I reread Luca and saw that the creature you get has to have a higher mana value. And then it all clicked, that it's like, oh, I see. Which I just never knew about Luca before.
Yeah.
I always thought it worked like all of the other
just
ones.
Like another
But no, it requires a higher mana value, so anytime you're using it on a 3-mana creature in this deck, you'll get Coma for sure. If you, for whatever reason, use it on a Lovestruck Beast token, then you run the risk of hitting like a Bone Crusher Giant off it or whatever, but it's honestly just not the worst to upgrade a 1/1 into a 4/3.
Yeah, that's true. That's very true. So now that you say that, I think that's pretty nice. I would probably put that in tier 1, but I would definitely play with it. Same thing. Play that deck a bit more.
This is the only deck that like I could consider mid-range that I think I can recommend with confidence. And if we want to look at results again, I think this deck also did well this weekend. See if I can find the numbers. Okay, so MTG data, yeah, it had like 55% win rate of the past week.
Nice.
So not the 61.5 that Gruul had, but still pretty good.
Pretty good.
Although it seemed to really beat the crap out of Prismari Dragons to bolster its win rate, and I don't know about how much I trust people playing a lot of Prismaris.
But what about this next deck? I think this is a special one.
Oh, yeah. So next up is Naya Winota. I think if I'd made this tier list like a week ago, this wouldn't be in tier 1. And now I have it in tier 1. So it's been really gaining popularity, been getting better and better. And honestly, just the what's the new Innkeeper that makes a token and you gain a life?
Yeah, what the heck? And you make a treasure when it comes into play?
It's just exactly what this deck was missing, because it lets you Winota on turn 3 with a non-human attacker.
Because he's a halfling, right?
Yeah,
or something. Yeah. Oh.
So that just supercharged the deck along with Minsk, Beloved Ranger, which is a human that creates a non-human when it comes into play, so it does both things, which is another thing the deck was kind of missing, is creatures that do both. And he also has a useful activated ability or whatever. But so this deck has just been getting better and better as people figure out exactly how to build the mana base and which cards to include and which cards not to include. And again, it actually won this weekend's past SCG event, and MTG data on Twitter says it's 59.3% over the last little while. But the really important stat that they have is that it's 68.4% against Sultai. So it really just trashes Sultai.
Huge.
Yeah.
It's huge.
So this one, I think, like, if all I wanted to do was, again, I was just worried about winning, it would either be this or Gruul that I would pick, I think. Depends kind of your play style, I guess. This is like aggro combo, if that's a thing. Gruul is just, I guess Gruul has a bit of aggro combo going on as well.
That's true.
Like, treasure generating Magda stuff, but
but Winoda's still doing the pull the Blade Historian out of your deck. Oh, now all the attacking creatures have double strike, and
for some reason my Blade Historian is indestructible.
Because
I don't know why that clause needed to be added to
I was realizing that today as I was playing. I was like, why is that a thing? So every creature that Winoda puts onto the battlefield is just indestructible. You're like, great. That's just really
That's
nice.
always the like little cherry on top that you always forget about. You line up some blocks and then you see indestructible. You're like, wait, what the why? It would be so good still without that.
Yeah, it's nuts. So remember that Winoda turns things indestructible when she puts them on the battlefield. It sucks. But this is one of the decks that I think would be really good in best of one as well. So if you're planning on you don't know whether you're going to do one or the other, this might be a really good deck to play, because then you can make some modifications for best of one, but for the most part you're kind of playing the same deck and you don't have to switch gears as much.
Yeah, this is what I was alluding to. That's good for both.
Exactly, and this is what I knew you were talking about, because it really feels like it's super like hyper linear, and just go for it, swing for the fences. So this next one, it's just been around forever. It's never leaving. I don't think it's gonna, even with like the bad results it's had recently, I don't think it's just.
You know what I think about sometimes? I just want to remind you of this, is that in our top tier out of here, we ranked this as out of here.
Did we really?
When it first burst onto the scene.
Oh my gosh, that's terrible. So this is Sultai Ultimatum, or Sultimatum. You might be familiar with this deck because it's fucking everywhere.
If you've played any standard in the past, 6 months? Maybe
6
4
months.
or 5 months at least, you will have seen this deck.
It's really great. I think it's still probably the best deck, even though it's getting smashed on a bit, but especially because if there's a downtick and everyone's looking like, oh, this deck kind of sucks, maybe these ones beat up on it or something, people will just stop packing stuff, or they're going to stop thinking about this matchup, and it'll come back. That's how that works. So
yeah, I put this deck in tier 1 because it's going to be tier 1 in representation no matter what. Like, it's going to be like a quarter of the field, because it always is. I guess in the past tournament it was like 15% of the field or whatever, but it's always a lot. People just like this deck even when it's not performing well, which is a thing that happens. Like, people just like decks, and if you're a ramp player, this is your only option in standard, really. And so all the ramp players will play this even if it's quote-unquote not a good choice for the metagame. I honestly don't think this deck is the best deck. I don't think what it's doing is as powerful as what the other decks we've talked about. Maybe it's like on par with what Teamer Luca is doing, but I don't think it's as powerful as what Naya Winoda or what Gruul Adventures is doing. This is just like interact a little bit, kind of, and then win the game on turn 6 or turn 5 with a 7 mana sorcery. And the other decks are doing something that's just better than that.
yeah, I think after board, I still think like a lot of those decks get just fucking ripped apart by just freaking Sultai sweepers, and I still think it's a great deck, and it'll definitely be around, and it's worth.
The Sultai sweepers are
playing for
also
right
exploitable too, right? Like, you know, Shadow's Verdict is not good against
Winota.
Goldspan Dragon, for example.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, or Winota. And I think Sultimatum has kind of gotten off for a little while. It's kind of held its ground by people not understanding how to play against it, because I think Sultimatum was kind of bad for a while, and then people realized that you just shift into this Elder Gargaroth plan.
Mm-hmm.
And that really confused people. But, like, for example, I beat Sultai 3 times with my Rakdos deck. And the way I did it is I sideboarded in my Akroan Wars. Like, in the, I didn't leave those in the sideboard.
Mm-hmm.
I brought those in to beat Elder Gargaroth, because I know that their post-board game plan is Elder Gargaroth.
Yeah.
And it's like, stop siding in 4 Duresses and taking out your removal, because you're just going to lose to Elder Gargaroth.
Mm-hmm.
But if you just leave your removal in, particularly something like the Akroan War,
Mm-hmm.
then their post-board game plan is like, basically moot. And they're just playing a weaker game than... It's like, now they're playing Gargaroth against my Akroan War, and Emergent Ultimatum against my Roiling Vortex. And it's just like, I actually get better post-board somehow. And I'm the aggro deck.
All right, I can kind of see that.
Now, I also get to sideboard out 4 Claim the Firstborn, which is super dead against them. So.
Yeah.
I think the deck just isn't as good as people think it is, but people love it. And it still will just grant you free wins. Like, people love free wins. So a deck that's like, sometimes you look at the opening hand of Sultai, and it's like, you're going to win the game on turn 4.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh, that's cool. Like, I have, the Wolfwillow Haven into Cultivate, into a Wrath, into Emergent Ultimatum.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, well, pretty much nothing is going to beat this. But a lot of, like, the games where it doesn't get Ultimatum, it does nothing. Like, it just sits there. It has, like, a Pelucranos. And you're like, okay, is that this is the best deck in Standard? It played a random 6/6, like, and then ramped a bunch, and then like, cultivated on turn 12. Like...
Yeah, I don't know. I still feel like it's really good. So I know you're making a lot of great points. That's wonderful. And I still think it's just going to come out swinging it.
Also, MTG Data had a 44% win rate against the field. And the only thing it had a positive win rate, the only thing it was beating was Rakdos Sacrifice. And that's not the version I'm playing. The version that they're talking about is the weird, dirtily, like, mid-range version that, that should be a strong deck, but because it can never beat Sultimatum, it's always been not a real contender.
Mm-hmm.
The stuff that's like Valky and the Dragon and Goldspan Dragon. Like, I want that deck to be good, but it sucks against Sultimatum. That's the only deck it beat. Everything else trashed it. And I guess it was kind of close against Teamer Luca. It was 49.5% against Teamer Luca.
All right. Well,
I don't know. I think you should prepare for this deck. So don't do what Zach's saying, where I'm telling you the deck's not the best, and so you just take out all your hate for it.
Yes.
And he's right. People will do that, and it'll start to climb back up again. Don't do that. Lots of people will still play it. So don't let those Sultimatum players get away with it. But I wouldn't play this deck, because I think people will still be packing hate.
I agree you shouldn't play this deck, but I still think it's one of the best decks and possibly the best deck. So just be always come with this in mind. You're just always going to have Sultimatum. It's
the best deck probably if nobody has any preparation for it, but I don't think it's as resilient as Gruul. Like, you just can't hate out Gruul, basically.
So this, I have one more for Tier 1, because obviously I'm going to throw something funky in there. But I really think that Mono Green Stompy is a Tier 1 deck. I just love the new tools that it got and how just big and just nasty it is. And the only card I hate is Burning Hands, and that's what I have to say about that.
Yeah, but the problem is people are equipped with Burning Hands. So in this past tournament, you look at Red Deck's sideboard, and Red Decks did really well in this tournament, by the way. It's like Naya Winota, Gruul Adventures, Jeskai Mutate, Gruul Adventures, Teamer Adventures, Naya Winota, Jeskai Mutate. Those are the top 7. every one of those is a red deck. Then there is a Sultimatum randomly at 8th place, but that is Naya Winota, Gruul Adventures, Team Adventures, Team Adventures. And so it's just like, clearly Burning Hands did some work, because they all have 2 Burning Hands in their sideboard. That's the only reason I downshifted Mono Green, is I think people are ready for it. It still did fine. I think it had a 50-something percent, 52% win rate, so it's not a bad choice. And it got us some really great 2-drops, so it's, it's a strong deck. But yeah, Burning Hands, man.
Yeah.
Burning Hands.
Yeah, I do just
Which
feel
also is bad for Sultai's plan of siding an Elder Guard.
That's true, because
Burning Hands wipes that out.
It also kills Coma.
Yeah.
But I just think I wanted to separate the monocolored decks, and I just like the green. I like mono green better than red and white, so I just wanted to make sure it was on a separate level, because I do think it is.
I just don't totally know what mono green is good against. I guess it's probably okay against Sultai.
Yeah, I also just like having some of the big creatures against some of these other creature decks. I don't know, and I think it's good against Sultai, which I still think is really good. So that that makes it harder for it.
It's just a tough spot to be in right now if you're weak to a red card, because all the best decks are red. If you want to include Sultai, that's the exception.
Except for Sultai, it's what.
But all the decks that play Bone Crusher Giant will also play Burning Hands, and a lot of decks want to play Bone Crusher Giant. So.
Yeah, that's true. But let's move into tier 2 and talk about some of these other ones.
All right, maybe because you had that, I'll lead into. I had all the monocolored aggro decks, green, red, and white. So we'll talk about red and white. Both these decks are solid. I think they just have different styles. White is like disrupt you a bit while I kill you relatively quickly, and red is I'm going to kill you as fast as possible.
Yeah.
So that depends on your game, just your preference mostly, what you like, and the different decks will be good against different things. Like mono white, for example, is going to be better against decks that have a lot of interaction because it can disrupt that interaction, whereas mono red is just going to have to eat that interaction in the face. But mono white, for example, would be pretty tough to win against Winota, I think.
Yes.
Like, Winota's just going to be too fast, and your disruption doesn't do anything.
It's so fast, and all your creatures can't beat Double Strike. Like, they just get...
Like, your one chance is to Paulo the Winota.
Yeah.
And if you miss that opportunity, like...
The thing with mono white is that if you have Paulo in your hand, you have to play him every time. Like, you can't try to double spell on a turn you could play Paulo, because they could literally Winota and kill you. And that's...
Yeah.
Or,
and even if you Paulo it, you're probably dead in 2 turns when they get
to do it. Or they're going to top deck one or whatever. But, like...
Yeah, they always just draw another one.
Yeah,
So.
But, like... That's my advice for you. If you're trying to decide whether you should get some value by double spelling or you should just Paulo. just do it. You see what's going on. Be prepared, because kill everything.
That's actually pretty good advice against every top deck, because like you have to do that against Ultimatum as well, because they could have a sweeper or an ultimatum.
You do that against.
You have to do that against Teamer Luca, because they could have Luca. So like. You just have to, and Gruul Adventures, maybe not, but I would still probably do it, because otherwise you're going to get, like, Goldspan or something.
Exactly, yeah, for Goldspan, yeah, for sure. So, yeah, do all those things.
Oh, when in doubt, Paulo.
Yeah.
But both those decks are fine, but I don't think top tier, right?
No.
Like, they're both totally solid choices, and it depends on your playstyle which one you want to pick, or if you even want to pick mono green. I guess we're saying that mono green's slightly better on the balance, but mono green is a little grindier of an aggro deck too, because of the presence of ranger class and stuff. So it just depends on what you like to do.
It can pivot a little bit more than the other two.
Yeah.
So.
All right, then I have. I think we both have this basically right here as decent. Is Naya Adventures. Pretty strong deck and is somewhat explosive. I just think it's not worth the mana troubles.
Yeah.
And the overall power level. Like, somehow I'm adding the color white to Gruul Adventures and losing power. Like, I'm losing mana consistency and overall power level.
Like, you will have those times where your Showdown of the Scalds is going off and you're playing other ones and you're doing a bunch of stuff and putting counters all over the place. But for the most part, it just feels like you should have already won by if you get there, like you should have already won the game by the time that all that's happening.
That's what I was gonna say. Like that's when you nut draw and it feels super powerful. But Gruul, when it nut draws, will just win.
Mm-hmm.
It'll have Goldspan Dragon equipped with Embercleave.
Yeah.
You know, on like turn 4 or 5. So, I think this one is more consistent in its draws. Like, sometimes with Gruul you just kind of lose to yourself because you draw. You know, you draw your stupid 1/2 elf Jespera Sentinel on turn 6 or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, wow, that was a total whiff. And Naya Adventures, like, most of the cards are pretty even in power, and then you have Showdown of the Scalds as your obvious best card, so it's like, you know, it's a little more level-headed. But I don't think that's what you want in this format. The decks are all so powerful and win so quickly that, I don't know, this feels like a mid-rangey deck that just doesn't have enough power to compete with what the other things that are going on in Tier 1.
Yeah, so I say just leave Showdown of the Scalds at home and play some Gruul, because I think you'll like it a lot more, and I think it'll just be a lot better for you.
Yeah, so again, I think you're playing Naya Adventures if you just love that deck.
Totally, exactly.
Otherwise, you know, you're probably better off going Gruul.
Yeah.
Okay, we both have this one up next in Tier 2, which is Cycling. I like what you wrote about this. What'd you write about Cycling?
I said, don't forget about this deck. It's a deck. People play it.
Yeah.
Don't forget.
Yeah. This is not a deck like I particularly like, so I've never played with it, so I can't speak too much to it. But this deck can be Tier 1 if people forget about it. So Zach's saying don't forget about it, because as soon as you do, like this, you just will feel like you can't possibly win, because it's just going to cycle stuff, make a bunch of dumb 1/1s to block everything, and then kill you with a giant burn spell.
Yeah.
On the other hand, like sometimes this deck just doesn't do anything. Like I play against Cycling so often where it just cycles cards and then concedes.
Yeah, I just like...
Okay.
I drew cards and I discarded cards so I could draw more cards and didn't do anything.
It's like turn 1 cycle, turn 2 cycle, turn 3 put Lurrus in my hand, turn 4 cycle, concede. I'm just like, right,
great job.
That was a good game. Yeah, so I wrote, play this if you like to discard cards and draw new ones, and occasionally get some minor benefit for doing that.
Yeah.
So.
Though, if they get to slam a couple early improbable alliances, and then they're just like span tons of 1/1s, some of these creature decks, it's going to be hard to get through if you don't have any trample. It's just like you're playing cards that you can't get rid of these enchantments if they're already on the battlefield. It can really take over, and that's the card that screws you in that matchup.
Yeah. So when we say don't forget about it, like prepare for it, stuff like Cinderclasm wipes away all of their 1/1s. Stuff like Graveyard Exile is good against them because their best spell relies on having cycling cards in their graveyard. And then also you're gonna want to make sure you have a way to kill the Pyromancer, which has 4 toughness. Mm-hmm. So traditional red spells don't kill it. So you're gonna make sure you have some way to kill the 0/4.
Yeah, because that thing will also just wipe your board immediately. Ugh.
Yeah, and usually kind of adding, 1 or 2 of these options is enough against Cycling. So.
Yeah, exactly.
Because again, you will often get free wins from them, where they just don't do anything, which is the best. But then it's such a high variance, because sometimes you play against it, and you're like, how was I ever supposed to win? They're making like 3 1/1s and dealing 3 damage per turn while going towards their inevitable game plan of burning me for 28.
Yeah.
All right, and I think that's all of the decks that we both had in Tier 2.
Yeah, you have one more.
You have one that I didn't have, and I had one that you didn't have in Tier 2. So maybe I'll just go first.
Sure.
Mine was Jeskai Mutate. I only have this in Tier 2 because I actually think it's a really strong deck. But then it should in terms of power level, it might even be Tier 1. But maybe it's almost like Tier 3 or lower in terms of representation. Like, nobody plays it, and it's such a tall order to learn this deck. Like, and so near rotation, people aren't going to learn this deck because it's so many things to do, and understanding the combo and how to win and doing it on Arena, you have to do it quickly. So I kind of landed on Tier 2 as a balance between, it is a very strong deck when piloted by someone who really knows it, but I don't think you really have to prepare for it because nobody's going to play it because it is so weird and like it's just so taxing to learn the different interactions.
Exactly. This is a deck that I put in tier 3 because I said, fuck that. I'm not clicking all those buttons all those times. Next, get it out of here. I don't.
That's right.
I don't want to see this deck.
So maybe just understand this deck exists. It's a combo deck. It's ridiculous, and it is pretty good, I think.
But I still don't really feel like I exactly know how it works. I know some of the pieces, but it combos to not always beat you, but maybe beat you the next turn after a combo. I don't know.
It does like a good enough combo.
Yeah, but it just takes forever.
In principle, it could be infinite, but because on Arena, you can't realistically do it enough times to actually win. So it's like get really far ahead so that you probably win kind of combo.
It's kind of like a get fucked, oh shit, the clock is running out deck. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't. That's why I put it at tier 3. I don't really like it very much. I don't think that you should bring it.
I don't like it either, and I haven't actually run into it at all. Yeah. But some copies, like some players did really well with it.
It's true. It is strong. Instead of that, for tier 2, I put Dimir Rogues because I've been playing Dimir Rogues, and I still think it's good. And because I think it has a good matchup against Ultimatum, because you turn into your control deck in the sideboard games. So any blue stuff, anytime if you're playing against Luca and things like that, when you can counter key pieces, I like having Dimir Rogues around. But yeah, it's still it works really well if you're playing against Naya Adventures because they like to keep drawing their whole deck with Showdown of the Scalds. And I've been playing a bunch of people who are like, do you not know that I'm milling you out right now? And you drew your entire deck. Did you really play?
Stop drawing 8 cards, man.
They're like, oh, here's another Innkeeper. Now I'm going to play a Bone Crusher. I'm like, have fun. Cool. I'm going to play one land and win the game.
Then they're like discarding the hand size to also pump up your number of cards in
Exactly, yeah. So anyway, I still think Dimir Rogues is being slept on a little bit by my friend Jeff here. And
hey, I love Rogues,
I know you
man.
do. I know you do.
I love it. It pained me to put it in tier 3.
I think I like it because I've played it a lot, but I do think some of these super fast decks are just like, it's so hard.
That's my issue with it, is that I think it's bad against Gruul, and I think it's bad against Winota.
I think it's worse against Winota. I'm more confident in the Gruul matchup that it feels. I don't think Rogues is favored, but I think it has a better shot against Gruul than Winota.
I just feel like it used to be true, way back in my day when I played Dimir Rogues and Gruul Adventures. That matchup was always that Rogues had a really solid game 1, but then they side in a bunch of Ox of Agonis, and it made games 2 and 3 really hard, so the matchup ended up being pretty even. And now I just don't feel like we have the game 1 advantage anymore. And so it's just like, I think Gruul is actually a little favored game 1 and then really favored in the post-board games if they put Ox of Agonis in their sideboard. And
I feel like I usually go straight mill mode for the next 2 games against Gruul or against any of those decks that because Gruul is now playing a bunch of 2/1s and 2/2s. Having the sweeper that kills anything that's not a rogue or a crab or whatever, you can get a lot of their small stuff. And then the only problem is obviously the Goldspan Dragon, but then we still have counters for the Embercleave and different things like that. So I still feel okay, but I know that it's not favored, but yeah, I do love milling out some of those decks that think that they're going to kill me fast enough, and it doesn't work out.
It just feels bad because you can't do a lot about the Magda stuff either. If they get treasures, they're just going to get Embercleave into play, and there's nothing you can actually do about it.
Yeah, once Embercleave is in play, it's rough. You can't do it.
And the Magda has a way to play it without that gets around counter spells.
That's true. If they pull it from the deck. With all the treasures. Okay,
Same with Goldspan, they can sneak it in.
Yeah.
I haven't played a ton of Rogues recently, and you've been playing it more, obviously.
Yeah.
But I just think it's hard for me to recommend it when what I think are the 2 best decks. I can only imagine the matchup is bad.
Yeah, and that's the reason why because I think Ultimatum's still pretty good, so I like that matchup a bit better. So.
But Rogues did okay this weekend, so MTG data had it pretty good actually at 55.9%. but it's exactly what we're saying. It really kicked the crap out of the Sultimatum decks and got its ass kicked by Gruul and by Naya.
So,
Naya Winota.
yeah, so there you go.
But then again, everything kicked the crap out of Sultai this past weekend except Rakdos, so...
All right, well, whatever. Let's just move on to tier 3. What's the deck we think is tier 3?
All right, so I had rogues here, obviously, but the deck we kind of both agree lands solidly here is Prismari Dragons. So, and we both basically have the same comment that this is a standard 2022 deck, and it's just, why would you play a standard 2022 deck in full power
In a current standard?
Yeah.
I like that it's becoming more of a dragon deck. That's kind of fun.
It's like actually plausible to call it dragons now.
Yeah. There's more than just the 2. Now there's 3. So
there's more than like 6 copies of dragons total. Although I guess it's approaching the number of rogues that are in Dimir Rogues.
That's true. That is very true. So, but yeah, like this is the deck that we're gonna look more at once we get rotation because it has like the best cards in it for post rotation standard. But yeah, for now, just don't need
second most. I think mono green actually is probably the one that's going to be the de facto best deck post.
I guess I was just talking about this deck gets to play Goldspan and Elrond's Epiphany, which mono.
Oh yeah. Oh sorry, it has the best cards.
Yeah.
The best individual cards.
Exactly. Yeah. So it'll be.
Although I think the Cadillac will be high on that. It'll be in the top 5.
Really? All right. I kind of.
Oh, the Cadillac's so good.
Yeah. I just feel like I don't love the Cadillac. I think it's fun to say, but it feels like every time I play it, it's just not good enough. And so...
You had this feeling in Limited, too, where you were like, I don't know, I've played games with the Cadillac and lost. And I was like, I have never experienced a game of Limited where somebody played this card and lost the game.
It was a constant...
With and against it plenty of times. For you, it was somehow the opposite.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I was playing it wrong.
I think that's entered your mind a bit about it not being that good.
I feel like I've played other decks and I just like don't love the Cadillac. Maybe I just don't know how to use the Cadillac. I don't know how to drive it very well. I don't know.
It's probably like a hybrid situation where I overrate it and you underrate it.
Yeah,
and it's really somewhere in between.
Exactly. We're in this weird space. But yeah, we also had some. You had your fun decks. You wanted to what just
happy fun time tier.
Yeah. I mean, it's also good to if you want to just play this weekend, play whatever fun deck you've built, whatever you think might be good. If you want to play Rakdos Sacrifice.
That's right. So all I've talked about how you should play Naya, Winota, or Gruul Adventures and all that. I'm probably going to play Rakdos Sacrifice by playing it. So just because I've been having a lot of fun playing this deck. Like, how could you not root for this deck? It plays iTwitch. And it plays Serrated Scorpion. And it plays like a card that just makes 2/1/1s. Like, don't you want this scrappy bunch of underdogs to come together and win the whole thing?
I like those first 2. I don't like the one that makes 2/1/1s very much. But
most of these cards are so bad that it's like I just love this deck because like half the cards are insanely powerful in this context and half of them are so bad that it's just like I love this deck. like who thought iTwitch was going to see constructed play? And it's one of the better cards in the deck because of the synergy.
Yeah, I did not see it coming, but
it's one of those things where I think the worst card in my build currently is Woe Strider somehow, and I'm trying to like cut Woe Strider because it's just always bad. Because it's like a card that's good on power level, but then it's not at the power level of current standard. So it's like I don't know why this is in my deck, and it's because I have to play Claim the Firstborn. So maybe I'm going to cut some claims and see if that lets me cut Woe Strider. But that's where we're at, I'm going to cut Woe Strider for something that is, like, really bad. It's going to be like, you see a pair of goblins, it's going to replace it or something.
Of course. I mean...
but yeah, I love this deck, and I actually think it's competitive.
Coming.
Well, yeah, exactly. This is an open deck list like the SCG event is.
That's true.
And I think this deck is honestly, if I probably had to rate it, I'd put it, like, somewhere between tier 3 and tier 2, and I've been playing it and doing pretty well with it in these competitive events. I have it at a place where it can beat Sultai, but sometimes it gets overpowered, right? Like sometimes you have iTwitch and whatever, and they have Goldspan Dragon. And you're like, what am I doing?
Like, why am I?
But other times it's like you drop God, I can't remember the name of this enchantment, but
Bastion of Remembrance.
yes, thank you. Sometimes you drop that and it's like I can't lose. Like there's nothing my opponent can do about this card, and they're at like 16. Doesn't matter. I'm just going to kill them. And it feels like that sometimes against especially Naya Adventures, where it's like I'm literally going to block your random 5/5s every turn, and that's gonna kill you. Like,
Yeah. You're like,
you want to attack with your Paulo? I Twitch blocks.
boom, get it. Get a thing that makes 2/1/1s.
And I put Mascot Exhibition in my sideboard, so that was fun.
Nice.
And that actually won me a game against Sultai, where I was able to block an Elder Gargaroth and a Vorn Klex, so that I didn't die and the triggers from Bastion of Remembrance killed them. So that was pretty awesome. And then the other deck I've really actually had a lot of success with on the ladder. I won like 11 games in a row. I was like Plat 1 and I went up straight up to Diamond, or Plat 4 and I went up to Diamond 4 with Esper Control, which is basically those old school Dimir control decks, you know, from back in the day with Yorion, but almost no reason to play Yorion other than it's a free card for a control deck. And then they just play like Ugin at the top end and Ashiok and like, you know, the sweepers. You're basically playing that deck, but now you have Imrith as an actual finisher. And then you also splash white for Vanishing Verse. And that deck's been super fun too. I don't think it's actually... I wouldn't recommend playing it if you're trying to win because it has the problems of a control deck, that if you draw the wrong cards, the wrong answers, if your answers don't line up, then you lose. But when your answers do line up, it feels like you can't lose. So that's kind of cool. And Imrith is just really strong.
Yeah. As far as my Happy Fun tier goes, I don't have one. Play a deck that wins.
Play Winota.
Yeah.
So that kind of leads into best of one. Right?
Yeah, but wrapping up best of three really quickly, like if you could pick one deck to say, hey, play this one deck, which one would it be?
For best of three, I would pick Gruul Adventures with Naya Winota a very close second.
Yeah, I think that's basically exactly what I would say too. Those are decks that have been around for a while, so you might know how to play them already, so jumping back in on them would be great. I might lean a little bit more towards my Naya Winota if you have them, just because, you know, I would feel like it would be fun to jump in between best of one and best of three. Which leads us into best of one. The deck I think you should play is probably Naya Winota, but there are a few other ones that actually aren't part of the best of three format, which is pretty interesting.
Yeah, that's kind of cool. So I think the tier 1 decks are basically red or white based aggro.
Yes.
That's like all of it. Playing mono white aggro, mono red to aggro, get into tier 1 here. You can play Boros Winota instead of, that's the old version of Naya, but I think I would just play Naya Winota. I think it's just better.
Yeah.
But then, like, for example, there's, to your point, mono white life gain.
Yeah.
So that's the deck with, you know, Heliod and Daxos and
the
one drop that Speaker of the
Heavens that makes angels.
Yeah.
This deck is really, you know, if you've it's very popular with new players to Arena, and because it gains just a butt ton of life, and it really feels like you can attack and never have to worry about, you know, dying on the crackback because you have so much life all the time. And so it's fairly fun to pilot, and I would definitely recommend playing this thing. I mean, people know about it pretty well, and they will remove the key pieces that you need to have down. So just be aware of that if you're going to play this deck. But it's definitely super fun, and you would have a good time. That's what I feel like.
It is fun, yeah. The other thing I'll say is, like, because... So best of one, the general outlook is that you want to be super linear. Mm-hmm. You want to be ultra aggressive, or you want to be, like, preying on the ultra aggressive decks with a, you know, straight control deck that's all removal or whatever. Mm-hmm. And because of the hand smoother, that gives the nod to aggro, because aggro gets, like, a boon that it doesn't normally get, where it's guaranteed or much more likely to get the 2-land or 3-land hand it needs. part of the reason mono white life gain is so good is because it's explosive and fast, but also it gains a ton of life. And if aggro is the name of the game in the format, gaining life becomes a lot more valuable.
Yeah.
So that's what makes it, one of the best decks in the format, and definitely tier 1, maybe even the best deck.
Yeah, it really could be. But besides that, like the other ones are things we'd seen before, like Boros Cycling, the mono red aggro deck from Best of 3. But these are all just like, hyperlinear versions, so they won't have any sort of... they're not going to be able to change up their game plan at all. You're basically just, you choose whether you're going to be the aggressor or you're going to try to prey on those decks. And yeah, I was actually playing a bit of just mono white aggro, not the life gain version today, just to see what's like in that environment, which I had a lot of fun. That was just like, basically it's this mono white deck that is playing a bunch of if you double spell, you get a bunch of tokens, or you're playing Paolo and the dog and Lunarch Aspirant, and you're playing Skyclave Apparition, and actually the top end, I had one copy of Master of Flowers.
Oh, nice.
Which is pretty fun, because then you're playing all the Monk of the Open Hand, because you want to double spell all the time, and the Paladin class, just to pump all your little tokens, and all the main lands that you can kind of get, basically. And it was great. I was doing actually very well with it. I was like, this is pretty awesome.
Nice.
And I like mono white, so I would probably, if I was going to do best of 1, I might just play that, because I would know how to play it. Which
it's totally one of the better decks in the format.
And to that point, just like a lot of the times playing a deck that you know more than, maybe it's not the top or the best or whatever, but if you know how to play a tier 2 deck better than a tier 1 deck, play the deck that you're better at, because you'll probably have a better outcome.
And also fun is also a tiebreaker.
Exactly.
If you're between 2 decks and one is just a deck you enjoy playing, then you're going to at least have fun while you're playing.
Exactly.
And probably even do better, because I always do better with decks I actually enjoy than decks I hate.
Yeah, well, because then the whole time you're just like, oh, these cards are so stupid. Why am I playing? Okay, fine. I'll throw this dumb card out. Oh, that got killed? Yeah, that's what I thought, because this card sucks.
Guess I'll play Emergent Ultimate.
Yeah. But yeah, obviously we have a lot more to say about Best of 3 than Best of 1, because we usually play Best of 3. So, but yeah, I think picking any great aggro deck, how to play mono green as well, any of those things, for Best of 1 seems great. Have a great weekend and your arena open. I hope you get $2,000 playing whatever you're playing.
And we'll take our 10%, which is $1,000. Just send it to us, and
yeah, it's just a 10% is 1,000. It's really simple that way. But yeah, anyway, Jeff, do you have any last thoughts before we go to last call?
No, I think I'm thought it out.
All my thoughts are out. Perfect. All right, well, we're going to go to last call and get the last beers of the night. Here we go.
Ready?
Big reveal time.
It's going to be hard because the cans look so similar.
Here we go. 3, 2, 1. Oh,
shit.
Wow.
We did it.
Wow, so we switched beers. We picked, I picked Beach Freak.
And I picked White. How did I forget that?
White. So as always, we rate our beers on a score of a score. Is it? Do we always say score, or is it just a rank? A scale. Yeah, maybe it's a scale of bronze to mythic, just like the tiers in Arena.
That's convenient. Wow, what a coincidence.
That's so weird. How did that happen?
Yeah.
And as always, this has nothing to do, it doesn't reflect on anyone who's in these specific tiers. This is just how we rate beers because it's fun.
I thought that the people in bronze tier are trash. Is that not why we were doing this?
No, it's not.
No.
Don't say that.
Okay. Because I would be trash then.
Mm-hmm.
And that was what I was going on.
Yeah. So like Jeff alluded to, bronze beer is trash. It is terrible. You hate it, and you just pour it down the drain, throw it in the garbage, get it out of my sight.
Yeah, silver's like, basically they don't have much going on. Macro brews would tend to fall in this category.
Gold is, it's fine, but you don't really think you're going to drink it very often.
Platinum is solid. You think you will drink it again.
Diamond is, this is exceptional, and you're going to recommend this to your friends and bring it to a party, probably.
And Mythic is the best of the best. You would recommend this to pretty much anyone who will listen.
Yeah, so, all right. How do we want to start? Which beer do we want to start with this week?
Let's start with mine, meaning the one that you picked.
All right, Beach Freak. We're talking about Beach Freak. All right, so this is the Pale Ale from Black Bellows. Both of our beers are from Black Bellows, but yeah. So I think that overall, what probably won me over was the art on the can.
Yeah,
so fun. Check out our Instagram; you'll be able to see the art. But yeah, I like that. But as far as the beer goes, it's pretty light for a pale ale. It's not too bitter, and it actually is something that you could probably drink on the beach, but for the most part,
yeah, I think that's probably what they were going for, right?
Yeah.
It's like a crushable, sessionable.
Exactly.
But it's not really low alcohol. It's like 5.1 or something.
It's 5.1%, and it says that there's supposed to be strawberry, citrus, and tropical. Huh. Well, none of that comes through. Tastes not even close. it tastes very like pale ale, but almost a little like watered down. Like it's chill. Like it's very chill pale ale.
Yeah, exactly. And that's as soon as I took my first sip, I just kind of thought, kind of boring, I guess. And not necessarily in a bad way, just, it just didn't have a lot of different flavors going on in it or anything like that. So, I don't know. It kind of reminded me of more of a lager than actually a pale ale.
Yeah, I could kind of see that. It has like a lager with more going on than a lager, but yeah, for the most part,
I'd pick this out in a blind taste test against a lager, but it's closer than it should be.
Yeah, yeah.
But if that's what you're looking for, then that's great. And
yeah, that's true.
Because, like you said, it's a beach beer. Maybe that's what they are shooting for.
Yeah, exactly. So I'd probably give like platinum on label, but like gold, low gold for a beer.
Have it gold.
Yeah, pretty gold. Yeah, not my favorite, but this next one. Let's talk about the beer that I brought that you're drinking.
Okay, yeah. So this is the wit beer with elderflower, and I think this one for me, because it had slightly more going on than that one, it still is a bit too like bland for me in the sense that I don't really get strong. Okay, this is a wheat beer, and I don't get a strong elderflower or basically any of the stuff that was promised. But I do get some of it and a little bit more than I got in the other one.
Yeah, I don't know if it's because I had that one first, but it was just very weedy in all the ways I don't like wheat beers very much.
Right, yes. This comes back with you. That's why I was surprised you brought the wheat beer.
Well, I love elderflower so much, but this seems to have almost none of it. I will like to... Yeah. So on the can, it does say that it's beer with relentless creativity, and I feel like they're very creative with the things they say their beer is going to be, and then it just isn't at all.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's
I don't want to I don't... I've never been to this brewery, but I've never heard of them before, and trying these two beers, I'm like, okay, all right. Maybe I can skip that on the tour. So,
yeah.
It's
just such bold advertising with the relentless creativity and the forge ahead and stuff. And their beers just, they're both pretty bland.
Which is funny because most of the time, there's a lot of beers that are like, why did you make this weird, funky thing that's just way all over the place?
Yeah, this is too weird when they're advertising the creativity.
And this one's like, I was thinking it was going to be big punches, and it feels like everything was just kind of like, watered down a little bit. Just like, almost with that in mind, I didn't love the white very much.
I think for me, it's just like exactly what you're saying. This tasted more like a wheat than that one tasted like a pale ale to me, I guess.
I get that.
So that was what edged it over. But you don't like some of these characteristics of wheat that are showing up.
So then I was just happy to drink a different beer afterwards and was like, all right, I'm just going to keep drinking the same one.
I think I almost had it the opposite, where I had the pale ale first. I was like, it's kind of boring. I'm almost certainly going to end up picking Zach's beer tonight.
Yeah, that's the first sip I had of the white was like, I'm pretty sure I'm going to pick the other one I didn't have right now. So for the white, like, I'm never going to pick this up again. And I don't know.
I still have this at gold for me.
Yeah,
but like higher in gold than the other one.
I'm pretty low gold on this one. I don't want to say silver because I don't think it's.
It doesn't really meet the criteria of like nothing going on, I guess.
But it doesn't.
Silver.
But it also doesn't have the things that I don't know.
So judgment call for you, bro.
Ugh.
I have them both in gold. This one's like mid gold, and the other one's like it's like gold 4 versus gold 3 kind of thing.
Interesting. Well, I had Beach Freak already at like gold 4, so it's like
you give it the silver one.
Yeah, I don't know if I feel like it deserves silver, but whatever. It's I'm gonna give it the color of the can, which is silver. I don't like it.
Okay.
So sorry, Black Bellows. I'm sure there's something else that you make that I will like, but these ones were not hitting me right tonight. So anyway, I think that brings us to closing time. You can always reach us at Arena Regulars on Twitter and Instagram.
Or you can play against us under the username Arena Regulars Podcast. Probably not in the Arena Open. We don't tend to spend the podcast account gems on that.
Yeah, probably not. But if you do see it and it's Rakdos Sacrifice, you can 100% bet that Jeff is wasting our gems.
And if it's Demir Rogues, you know who it is. So.
Yeah, exactly. If you want to talk to me personally, you can find me at Zulberg on Twitter and Instagram. That's ZEULBERG. But Jeff, where can they find you?
Can find me at Twitter. I'm at BluesBrewsMTG, spelled like it sounds.
Please leave us a review on Apple Podcasts, on iTunes. Please follow us on Spotify and Stitcher, Anchor, anywhere that you listen to this podcast right now. And go to our YouTube channel, click the bell icon for whenever we're going to get videos up there, or just, leave us a comment to talk about whatever you want to talk about, because we just would love to talk to you, too.
We'd love for you to tell us why your favorite deck was not included in our tier list and how we're stupid for omitting it. So.
This has been the Arena Regulars,
reminding you that if you seek to win perpetually, play Winota and conjure up $2,000.
Good night. All right, that's fine.